Prospect Sit Down. We are joined today on a special episode. Washington State cornerback Chau Smith-Wade is going to break down his game, what players he looks at in the league, and kind of a little bit of his upbringing and the road he's traveled. We're going to talk about this and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout and a senior draft analyst. And guys, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. You know that I got to kick this intro over to my guy, Mr. LSU himself, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on X at The Talent Code. Keep talking to him, baby.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. This is Keith Sanchez, 2019 national champ with those LSU Bengal Tigers, man, here to bring you championship level content surrounding the NFL draft 24/7, 365. Man, I want to say shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, man. Listen, top of the show, I'm going to tell you, this is a player interview, man. Go hit the like button. Don't forget to comment, man. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the best NFL draft content. DP, we have our guy, man, from the Northwest came talk to us, man. We have cornerback from Washington State, Chau Smith-Wade, and I feel like, DP, my feeling is that this is going to be a really good interview, man. Had a chance to bump into him at the Senior Bowl, and I'll tell you this, very intelligent young man, very talented guy, had one of the most spectacular plays at the Senior Bowl in the game and then also in practice, right? So this guy's a flat-out playmaker, and he's going to respond, and I'm really excited to get this interview. But DP, before we get the interview started, man, why don't you hit him with our title sponsor?
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. And guys, without further ado, let's get to our sit down with Washington State cornerback Chau Smith-Wade. Special guest from Washington State cornerback Chau Smith-Wade. Chau, how you feeling, brother?
I feel good, man. It feel good to be here, ready to pop it.
Oh, man, we definitely happy to have you, man. And listen, when we do these interviews, I always like to start at the foundation, right? Now, I believe the foundation is the upbringing, and it's the pre-Washington State, right, being a college football player there. So I want to ask you, man, what was that process as far as the journey, right, from Denver to Chicago, right, and then being able to go to Washington State? So what was that process for you?
Yeah, man, I mean, it was a real rigorous process, just taking myself from a comfortable situation in Denver, not too upper echelon, but, a comfortable situation. The environment of Chicago and Denver are two different places. I was born in Denver. I grew up in the house with my mom. My dad also raised me as well. I have a lot of siblings. I had the leeway to move to Chicago. Had a joint decision with my parents, and I was able to shoot over there. My parents stayed back, and when I moved to Chicago, that's when I stayed with my uncle and my older cousin. And my uncle was in the process of taking an abandoned home in the urban city of Chicago and kind of just refurbishing it. He's an electrician, so that was something that he took pride on. And me and my cousin was able to help him do this as well. So we was in the process of helping him take this abandoned home and fixing it up to be ours. And it was something that I had to persevere through. I would say it was my perseverance story. There was times where there was no heat, and we kind of compensated with blankets, extra blankets to keep ourselves warm. For 2 years straight, my auntie had to cook a meal on Sunday that would have to last us for the whole week until we had to, till we was able to get another meal on Sunday. So, we did that for 2 years straight. And, kind of just growing up in that city of Chicago is, it's really the trenches. They say the trenches, that's really the trenches, just, a high poverty state, a murder capital of the nation. There's times where I'm taking out the trash and, you hear bullies down the street. So, that's just something I had to persevere through. I went to Simeon Career Academy. A lot of the guys like D. Rose, Jabari Parker, Taylor Horton Tucker, Taylor Horton Tucker was, shortly before my time there. And, Simeon is known as a basketball school, but I was able to go there and make my name as a football player. So, that's just kind of what I had to persevere through before I got to Washington State.
How can I ask this, man? So listen, Washington State is all the way in the left corner of United States, right? And then you have Chicago, the city, sitting right in the middle. How do you end up at Washington State? Because that's a long way, and we know you were a 3-star coming out, right? So underrated, right? I think it's safe to say you were underrated prospect. So how do you end up all the way in Washington State?
Yeah, man. So I was getting recruited by a lot of, mid D1 schools and the MAC conference. And, my junior year, I racked up almost all of the MAC schools and, Toledo and those type of schools. And, my first offer was from Southern Miss. And my senior year, I ended up playing running back where I was able to showcase the skills when I have the ball in my hand. And, I ended up getting, interest from schools like a lot of those Mountain West schools in Wyoming. And, I was actually committed to Wyoming. And, the coach there at the time was Coach Bull. He had his defensive staff there under Coach Jake Dickert. And the cornerback coach was John Richardson. And, those guys recruited me heavily. I was talking to them for probably 2 years straight. And, I kind of already had it set in my mind, just being from Denver, that I was going to go to Wyoming. And, Wyoming is right there next to Denver. So, I had it set in my mind I was going to go to Wyoming, ended up committing to Wyoming. And, long story short, the coach, the defensive coordinator staff, and everybody under them ended up going to Washington State. So, I ended up just transitioning with them. They went to Washington State, and, Coach Rolo and that whole head coaching staff was there. And, a lot of those Mountain West school guys were there, and I just transitioned over with them, took my visit, ended up there.
So, I want to go back to Simeon Career Academy. Your senior year, you were named Chicago Sun-Times All-Public League first team as a running back. What made you change position? I played running back growing up. So, I got a lot of love for the RBs. But what made you change positions to go from the offensive side of the ball where you could score touchdowns to the defensive side where you're preventing them?
Yeah, man, I've always played DB. I've always been an athlete. Growing up, I played running back. So that love for running back just shot right back to me. And, my junior year when I was playing at Simeon, we went all the way to like the semifinals. And it's funny, we actually lost to J.J. McCarthy in his school. And, so my senior year comes, we're a young team, and one of our star running backs ends up getting injured. And, my coach seen my film. He knows how, I run the ball. So, that transition over from DB to running back was easy. I was also playing DB and running back and receiver. So, I was able to just showcase those offensive skills. And, it's always been in me. Running back always been in me. So, yeah.
So basically, you're saying you was a playmaker, man. He put him anywhere, and he can make some plays for you. But listen, let's talk about Washington State, man. Getting there as a true freshman, right? Seeing limited play time, and then turning it up from there, right? Sophomore year, I think you were played in 10 games. This past year, 11, 12 games, right? And being one of the key defenders on that defense. I like to walk people through the growth process, right? What was that growth process for you from your freshman year until now, as far as learning the craft of the game and almost taking it to a professional level, right? As far as taking the game that serious.
Yeah, man. When I came into Washington State, I was a scrawny guy, probably at 168 to 170. It was COVID year. I'm a COVID baby, 2020, graduated 2020. And, I came in, played 3 games. I seen significant playing time at corner. I was like the third corner in the room. I was under guys like Jalen Watson, who's somebody in the league now, Derek Langford, who was also in the league, and George Hicks, somebody that took his talents to coaching. So I was under those guys, but I also seen a lot of playing time, able to play in games like Oregon and Oregon State. And another game, but I had COVID. I ended up missing like 3-4 games. It was a 5-season game. I ended up missing like 2-3 games. And so my sophomore year comes, still under guys like Jalen Watson and Derek Langford. They balled out. I was still seeing significant playing time. I got to play in a few games. I was a special teams guy. I always been a special teams guy from my freshman year to my senior year. So I showed out on special teams a lot of the time, making plays at gunner. And my junior year comes. Now I'm that guy up. Um, you know, the bowl game, my sophomore year, I was able to start that first game, and I was really hyped flying around, made a few plays in the bowl game, and that kind of solidified my spot going into the next year, my junior year. So my junior year swings around, and I put my name on the map. My coach told me right away after the USC game that I put my name on the map, being able to hold a top tier receiver to 0 catches. So I put my name on the map, and I just went crazy that whole season, having like 5 turnovers. And my senior year comes. I made a few plays. A lot of quarterbacks really shied away from throwing to me, so I really didn't get a lot of love my senior year, and I ended up having a shoulder injury my senior year, which cut the back half of my season off. So that's kind of just my upbringing at Washington State.
Did you know that even if you have a 401k, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at Robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC is a registered broker dealer. Like you said, you're a playmaker. You've moved all around the defense. But going into the NFL, like what position do you prefer to play the most? Is it nickel? Is it outside? Or it doesn't matter to you?
Man, it really doesn't matter to me. Going to the Senior Bowl, I've actually never played it down of nickel. I've never
Oh,
practiced.
wow.
Yeah, so I had practically 3 days to learn nickel at the Senior Bowl, and it was a real developmental week for me. Watching, if you was to watch the practices that we had the first day, I was getting cooked at nickel, and a lot of coaches are saying good job, but man, I was really hanging my head on some of the reps that I had at nickel that first day, and that's a lot of space. So second day come by, I was in my hotel room watching a lot of guys like McDuffie. I was watching a lot of guys like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I was watching Mike Hilton. Just a lot of those nickel guys. Kenny Moore. A lot of those guys, just to kind of put myself in their shoes. And third day comes and I'm strapping up. I ain't worried about nothing. So now, going into the Senior Bowl, I was able to take the challenge of a lot of teams wanting to see me at nickel. And yeah, man. I mean, if I was to choose one. I'm not sure, man. I'll have to say any. If they put me at corner, throw me in a package, I'll go to nickel. So, anyone.
Hey, man, I like that. I like that. I like that. Listen, man, you mentioned the Senior Bowl, right? And I want to stay right there because I think you were one of the standout performers, and you probably had the most spectacular play in practice with the interception in the end zone. I think against one of your guys, Jacob Cowing, man. And then you in the Senior Bowl game, right? You also had another interception. So that shows me ball skills, right? Now I want to ask, where does that mentality come from, right? Being a playmaker, being able to go get the football, especially at the defensive back position.
Yeah, I mean, you ask guys like Trayvon Diggs, he was a receiver. So just being able to have that offensive mindset and just take it along and put a defensive technique to it, it just translates really easy. Being a receiver, you see ball, you get ball, you catch it, you tuck it away. So, being at DB, when you get the chance to catch the ball, you got to catch it. And a lot of the time, it just happens to be in a spectacular way, given that the quarterback is not throwing to the DB. He throwing to the receiver, so you got to make a great catch. So that's where that comes from.
So I want to ask you, man, playing in the Pac-12, especially this year, you guys had a lot of high octane offenses, right? And so what was it like playing against those guys, and how has that prepared you to go into the NFL and see the high level of talent at the wide receiver position?
Yeah, man. I would have to say one of the hardest receivers that I've guarded in the Pac-12 was Troy Franklin for Oregon. I seen Rome Odunze my junior year. He's one of those guys that's good at the catching point. He really makes those 50-50 balls 100-0. So a lot of those guys, being in the offense, a lot of those air raid offenses in the Pac-12. We actually had, I would say, the best quarterback conference in the nation. Out of all the group of 5 schools. So being able to see a lot of concepts and a lot of high-powered offenses that would really help me going into the league. My processing speed is there to process a lot of concepts, and being able to have the quick twitch that I do to be able to play man also. Playing in the Pac-12 has really done a lot for me in that regard.
Yeah, hey, we talked about the NFL, man, and I like to have a little fun, right? And for our listeners, man, I want you to paint the picture of yourself, right? So if you can give me a couple NFL comps or guys that you model your game after, just so the guys, that listen, that watch NFL, they can start painting a picture of who Chau Smith-Wade is.
Yeah, so if I was to build a great player, I would have to say the aggression of Jalen Ramsey. He has tremendous aggression. I would have to say the cover skills of Stephon Gilmore. I would have to say the grit of Cam Taylor-Britt. Just the quick twitch of Kenny Moore, the IQ of Kenny Moore. The attitude that McDuffie plays with. The chip on his shoulder that he has. And Mike Hilton, just the chip on his shoulder as well. He was a free agent, drafted guy, undrafted guy. So, just being able to put all those guys together would be the best player in the league as far as, the secondary.
No, I like that. You picked you picked some versatile names. Guys could do a lot of different things, but I love, talking about the attitude, the physicality of different players. But talk to me about your game. Tell the people, what's, in your opinion, scout yourself, what's your biggest strength, and what's something that you've been working to improve on this draft cycle?
Yeah, so if I was to break it down all the way, from a mental standpoint, I believe you got to put that in there. A lot of guys don't take that into account. So, from a mental standpoint, my will to improve is off the charts. I'm continually working. I'm always working to improve. I believe that my processing skills, as I mentioned earlier, is completely off the charts as well. Just playing in the Pac-12, a passing conference. I'm able to process a lot of things from, motions to different formation that guys are in and what they can do out of formations. And also my IQ. I know different splits. I have experience in this game that, it goes way back. So just being able to see different things and, match it with my IQ. But from a physical perspective, I would have to say my quick twitch. You see on film, I'm cutting guys off. I'm beating guys to spots, and I'm practically running routes for guys. So, that's something that I like to give myself love for, that quick twitch. So I would also say my speed. I'm rarely beat down the field. You never really see me being beat over the top. My film shows for that. And that's really my thing. And also my footwork. I'm never really tied up. I'm always breaking down on the ball, or my breaks are fairly tremendous too. So those are some of the things that I feel like gives me an edge on different players.
Hey, well, I like it, man. And listen, I want to wrap this episode up first off by saying thank you, man. I appreciate you for coming on here. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, if your NFL team needs a cornerback who's smart, instinctual, highly athletic, man, Chau Smith-Wade is the guy. And like I said, man, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Good luck this draft season, and good luck heading into the NFL for your rookie season as well, brother.
Appreciate it, boss man.
You shouldn't have to worry when it's time to buy tickets for your next big event. But if you wait till the last minute, you will, because you're trying to compete with other buyers and find the best deals. But let me introduce you to Game Time. They are the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. What other benefits do they have, DP? Let us know. Well, let me help you guys. Last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. Their tickets are easy to find and buy. And this is my favorite part. This is the best part. They show the views from all the seats in the venue. So before you purchase your ticket, you know what vantage point you will have. Guys, let me tell you something. If your significant other is like my wife and loves Usher, loves R&B music, and wants to see him live in person, you can go to Charlotte to the Spectrum Center on October 22nd at 8 p.m. and get tickets on the Game Time app as cheap as $147 per ticket. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Keith, Chau Smith-Wade, cornerback from Washington State. I tell you right now, man, let's listen to that young man talk. I think he's going to be in the league for some time. I think he's going to be in the league for quite some time. He's very motivated, tough, gritty, and those are the things that keeps you in the starting lineup. Just keeps you in the lineup, period. Keeps you in the league, being able to overcome adversity, and that's something that he started the whole conversation with, was talking about the adversity he overcame.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I'll go to my time at LSU and, you know, the defensive backs that I've seen, right? And listen, there was plenty of 5-stars, right? Plenty of guys that can run 4.4s and some can touch 4.3s, right? And not all of them made it, right? And then we had some guys that may have necessarily tested the same athletically, but they had the character, the grit, the toughness, the cerebral approach to the game. And you can tell that Chau has that, right? Even when he started naming the players that he kind of models his game after. And, you know, it was everybody, right? It was Jalen Ramsey, it was Trayvon Diggs, right? But it was something that guys as small as a Mike Hilton or, you know, guys that's not that well known to the casual NFL fan. And what that let me know is, DP, is that he does his research, right? He does his homework. He gets after it. And students of the game last in the NFL, me and you both, we talk to NFL scouts, right? And what's a large process that's missing to the casual fan, and that's why I'm happy that we're able to do these interviews, is getting to know the player, the person, right? Who that guy is. And I'm really confident in who Chau could be as a person if that was a representation of who he is.
No, I cannot love that point, that because especially nowadays, like social media and everything else, we look at these players as just team assets, right? Not as people. Right, not what they've gone through, what they've been through. There's a story and a trail that these players have taken to get where they are. No, has everybody's trail been tough and rugged? No, but everybody goes through something. That's life, and I think that's how you handle life and the challenges of life is typically how you handle the challenges in the NFL, on the football field, at practice. Right? He talked about it, man. You know, going into the nickel, which we saw him down at the Senior Bowl. Take those snaps at nickel. He said, man, the coaches are telling me good job. And meanwhile, I'm like, man, I'm getting beat. I'm hanging my head. I'm getting frustrated.
He didn't look like a fish out of water, DP. And you have to be ready to be that versatile when you're in the NFL, right? Because what if one of the nickels go down and you're the fourth string outside corner, right? But you could potentially be the first string or the second guy, you know, in a nickel package, right? Or they go dime, right? And you have to play one of those nickel positions. So I definitely appreciate that about his game.
No, 100%. Like I said, he good player, athletic. He talked about it, footwork, everything. He's so, from a mentality standpoint, man, just listening to him. I always say this, Keith, and this no shot to quarterbacks. But in the NFL media, like we see a lot of quarterbacks with, you know, the jobs on TV talking about the game. That's all fine and good. I love to listen to a cornerback talk, right? Because it's a different level of intelligence, of breaking down coverages and breaking down, you know, their game and what they see and how they have to approach the coverage and their responsibilities and what their keys and they look for with the receiver and reading different things. It's such a learning experience a lot of times just listening to defensive backs talk, because it's a different language that they're talking compared to quarterbacks. And quarterbacks, yeah, they know a lot of things that happens on the field, but listen to a cornerback or a defensive back, man, I always sign me up for that 24/7.
Hey, 100% with DP. Listen, man, that wraps up another episode, but a special guest episode with cornerback from Washington State, Chau Smith-Wade, man, a highly intelligent guy, man. We definitely enjoyed interviewing him. Well, listen, man, I want to say shout out to Everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, tapping into these player interviews. Listen, if you haven't hit the like button, go hit the like button. If you haven't commented, drop a comment, right? Which part of the interview did you like? And let us know, do you want this guy, Chau Smith-Wade, on your team playing cornerback or outside corner? Or he potentially said he'll go to safety. And listen, if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Listen, I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. My co-host, my guy, man, Damian Parson, man. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, y'all talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shot for being our everyday. As y'all have it's happy Friday, first off, but have a great weekend. Be safe, enjoy yourselves, and listen, come and join the conversation again tomorrow. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.